Hey everyone, welcome to today's video, welcome to my channel. My name is Maaike and today we are nearing the end of Everyday May because I only have a few more videos left for you, including today's, which is a makeup starter kit. I've done favorites here and there in the past, but I've never really done a full video where I recommend what products you can get if you're a true beginner at makeup. Before we get into the products, there are a couple of things I would like to point out. Number one, don't think that you need to get all of these products. If you are trying to build up a makeup routine, you have no need for all of these products in your life. I certainly didn't when I started in makeup. I started with eyeshadow, then I think I added blush or lipstick, and then I wanted to do a base as well. But that's about it. I definitely build it up as I went along. I've only been wearing foundation for like 2 years or something. So really don't think that you need to get all of the products I'm recommending to you. Try to pick the products that suit you and your lifestyle and what you would like to enhance in your features. I think that that's where you should start. That also means that the recommendations I have for you are much more geared at a more natural everyday look. I'm not here to give you recommendations to have snatch brows and like the whole Instagram Nikki tutorials, full glam extravaganza that makes you look like a drag queen. That makes you look like a drag queen. I'm not here to give you those kind of recommendations. This is for the more everyday, office, school appropriate kind of makeup look. That's what we're trying to go for here. And last but not least, before we get into it, I have to also point out that most of the products I have for you to recommend are also drugstore options, because I feel that you definitely don't need to go out and splurge like 40 euros on a foundation and like 35 euros on a concealer and then like 100 euro eyeshadow palette. Keep it simple at first. I have found many gems in the drugstore, and that's what most of these recommendations are going to be focusing on. If you'd like to see a makeup starter kit for a more higher end budget, so if you have a little bit more money to spend, then of course I can do that too. But just so you know, most of the products I'll be showing you today, I think there's only 2 high-end products in the entire list of recommendations that I have for you. So everything else is going to be quite affordable. Moving on to the products then. For primer, there is only one thing that I can recommend because this is my favorite primer, and this is the Catrice Fresh It Up Hydrating Primer. I'm not sure about its availability, but something very similar is the NYX Hydrating Primer, which also comes in the blue packaging. And I think that if you can't get Catrice, you may get NYX, but I don't currently have the NYX primer on hand because I used it up and it's already gone. But the Catrice one is a good one too. The Catrice one costs about, I think, half or maybe a third of what the NYX primer costs though. So this is very cheap and cheerful. I think this retails for about 5 euros, and it's a really nice hydrating primer. Now, of course, if you're a lot oilier, I have dry skin, so a hydrating primer is one that I really like. If you're looking for a recommendation for oily skin, then I don't really have one because my skin is not oily at all, ever. It's never been. So I don't really know where you would have to look then. But NYX do a couple of really good ones. Catrice do some nice ones as well. So those are the 2 brands I would definitely look out for if you're looking for an affordable primer. Sticking to the theme of primer, we also need an eyeshadow primer. At least I do. If I don't use an eyeshadow primer on my lids before I do anything else, everything will crease on me, because despite my face being quite dry, my lids are actually quite oily for some reason, and I have a really deep crease. So what I like to do is double prime my lids. And that's mainly because everything will otherwise just crease on me. So one thing that I've been loving lately is the Catrice Eye Foundation. This is a really nice, affordable, like again, 4.50, 5 euros at the drugstore eyeshadow primer. This is a really good one. I also really enjoy the Milani eyeshadow primer. That's another good one. So again, if you can't find the Catrice, maybe you can find the Milani one. The Milani over here is marked up quite a bit. It's like around 12 euros, which is like $15. But in the US, you can find that for like $7. So if you can't find the Catrice, but you can find Milani at an affordable price point, then definitely look into that, because I like myself a bit of an eyeshadow base before I do anything else. My next step would then be foundation. And for foundation, I have a couple of recommendations depending on what you like to find in a foundation. So I have one by L'Oreal, and this has been making the rounds because this is the Infallible Fresh Wear Foundation. And this is one that a lot of people are raving about is a really, really good foundation, and it is. But it is a really good foundation if you have a drier skin tone. This is a very hydrating foundation. What's it called? Is it also called Infallible? The Pro Matte. That's really nice if you have very, very oily skin. I think I tried that, but it didn't really work on me because it just showed all the dry patches. But this is a really nice hydrating foundation with like more of a like medium coverage, I would say. If you like L'Oreal foundations to begin with, like if you want to look into that brand, then the True Match is a nice one if you want a more lighter weight coverage as well. So the Infallible is my favorite though out of all of the L'Oreal foundations that I've tried, so that's why I wanted to put it in here. But I think the brand where it's at for me when it comes to foundations is Maybelline, and the reason for that is because they just do a really, really good shade range. I definitely didn't want to put a recommendation in where you wouldn't be able to find a shade, which with the L'Oreal over here, it's actually a little bit atrocious. Catrice do some really nice foundations, but they only come in like 3 shades, so not really, really conducive to shade matching. So that's why I wanted to feature these two. The Fit Me Matte and Poreless is not all that matte. I actually feel it is quite dewy and it works on my dry skin. And this is like a light, you could say a light to medium coverage. This can be built up a little bit, but I feel that this still looks quite natural on my face. And this comes in a ton of shades. The shade range of this is really, really nice. I have mine in 110. This line does pull a little bit yellow though, so that's something you need to then perhaps correct with a concealer that's a bit more pink toned. So depending on your undertone, this may be a bit harder to shade match in, but it definitely has a good range of light to dark. I'm not really sure what the shade range of this foundation is everywhere, but it seems to come in quite a lot of shades. When I bought this in the UK, there were a lot of shades out there, and this is the new Maybelline Dream Urban Cover foundation. This is a really nice foundation, but it is more full coverage than the Fit Me is. So if you're looking for more coverage, then I would go with this one. If you're looking for something that's a little bit more lightweight, then this is a nice one. So depending on what your skin does and how much coverage you feel you need, Maybelline has a really, really good range of foundations to look into. My next step would then be concealer, and currently I am loving the Catrice One Drop Coverage Concealer. You have heard me rave about this so much the past couple of weeks, but I'm truly sorry. I do really love this product. It is a newer launch, so again, not available everywhere, but this is so lightweight, it barely creases on me. For Catrice, it comes in a better range of shades than they've ever done. I think this comes in 10 different shades. So that is good too. It comes with a little dropper. I think mine is almost gone. So I have used this a ton. It also leaked a little bit on me. The packaging is a little bit messy, so you do need to keep it upright when you store it. If that's a little bit too much of a hassle because it is very liquidy and it can get quite messy, then I think the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define Concealer, again, comes in a ton of shades, barely creases, works well on dry skin, works on your under eyes, and it costs €5. What's not to love? This is a really nice concealer, so I had to put it in here. For powder, I would say that, again, if you can't get Catrice, get some of the NYX HD powders. But for me, where it's at the drugstore when it comes to powders is Catrice. They do a really nice pressed powder called the Prime and Fine Mattifying Powder Waterproof in the shade Transparent. It's not super white, but it does work on a multitude of skin tones. It doesn't have too much of a white cast, I feel. And this is a really nice powder. This is like my 3rd or 4th one that I've owned of this. And this really nicely sets your makeup in place. And it has a little bit of a mattifying effect, but not too much, I feel. If a pressed powder is not your jam, you are more into loose powders, or you would like to try a loose powder, then Catrice has you there as well, because they do the Nude Illusion Loose Powder in Transparent Matte. This is one of those white powders, and it works really, really well. This has been a repurchase for me. They now also do this in a glowy version, which I also really like, but I don't like the packaging of that as much as I do this, because that one barely has any product coming out. this one is a lot better when it comes to dispensing the product, and I feel that this works on a lot more people than the Radiant one that they're doing. Let's talk brows, and when it comes to brows, I have to say that I really like the little pencils that they do, and my favorite one that is most widely available is the NYX Micro Brow Pencil. That is my favorite in the shade Taupe because it matches my brows the most. I use a lot of Soap & Glory products though, and Soap & Glory is a little bit harder to get depending where you're at. It's a UK drugstore brand, so I buy mine whenever I'm in the UK, whenever I'm in London. I always seek out the Soap & Glory counter and I pick up one or two. And so I currently don't have anything on hand to really show you because I don't want to recommend something that can be very hard to find. Catrice and Essence do some nice brow pencils as well in that very thin style, but my favorite one has been the NYX because it lasts an okay amount of time and it has a couple of like really good shades that you can choose from as well. So NYX is where it would be at for me, but I currently don't own that pencil. What I do own when it comes to brows is the Essence Make Me Brow. You know that I love this stuff. This is a dupe for the Benefit Gimme Brow, and I just really like this. It's a really, really nice shade, matches my brows well. It gives them a little bit more volume. It makes them stay in place. I love this stuff, and it retails for less than €3. My next step in my makeup routine would be bronzer, and this is where I have to be a little bit of a disappointment because I don't have a recommendation for a drugstore bronzer. There are a few that I like. I like the Physicians Butter bronzer. I do. But it's like, it doesn't really, again, shade range is just a problem. So if you're a little darker, then that can be an issue. If you're very fair skinned like me, then drugstore bronzer usually look a little bit too orange. A not too expensive yet not affordable option that I found that I really enjoy is the Take Home the Bronze bronzer by The Balm. Now this retails, I think, around the €20 mark or so. So in terms of affordability, it's sort of like in that mid-range price point. I also have one by Hourglass that I love, but that's like €45, so I'm not recommending that here. But I feel that the Take Home the Bronze bronzer comes in 3 different shades. So they have something for fairer, medium, and darker skin tones, which I think is a must if I'm recommending a certain product to you in a video that is called a makeup starter kit. So that's why this shade, Oliver, works really well on my complexion. The blendability of this is really nice. It has a really nice texture. It's very easy to work with as well. Again, if you're a beginner, I think that ease of use is another reason that should be factored into recommending a product like this. And this is just a good one that's sort of like that mid-range price point. Not super expensive, but also not super affordable. It's definitely not drugstore stuff. Highlighter then, I have 2 options for you because depending on where you're at in your makeup journey, you may want a more blinding or a more subtle highlight. My favorite subtle highlight in the drugstore is by Kiko, and this is their Shade Fusion highlighter in the shade 01. They still do this. This retails again around the €10 mark, so it's not super duper cheap, but I do feel that this is a shade that works really well. Again, this comes in 3 different shades, so depending on your skin tone, it has a couple of options to choose from as well, whereas most affordable brands only do like 1 highlighter shade, and that should then fit everybody. That of course doesn't go down. My more intense option would be the LA Girl Strobe Light Strobing Powder in 110 watt. That's the one that I have. This is the similar shade to the Kiko, but it's a lot more intense. This has a lot more particles to it, so it looks a little bit more vibrant on the skin, I would say. But this comes in, I think, 20 different shades. Like, this is insane. If you're looking for a highlighter that has the most, like the best shade range ever, then definitely check out the Strobing Powders by LA Girl. I feel like every single brand at the drugstore has a good blush formula. Like, I've never found one that can be faulted. So that's why I wanted to recommend my most affordable blush shade to you. This is the Matte Touch blush by Essence. And this is a stunning, stunning shade, first of all. And this retails for like €2.50. So when it comes to blush, you really don't have to go for a very expensive option. Every brand has a good blush formula, and this is one of my favorites, and it's super affordable. Moving on to eyes, and I would, again, this is a recommendation that I throw in here because I just have a really, really deep crease, and if I don't do this, I feel my makeup just doesn't look as nice. I think it is nice to look into having some sort of like cream base or like another sort of like base product that will sort of cancel out veining and redness on your lids, that will help with also against creasing and just making your eyeshadow look better. I haven't found a formula that I love as much as MAC Paint Pots. So this is something that you do have to bear in mind. I think NYX do some that are nice. The Maybelline Color Tattoos, if they still do those, but I think those have been discontinued actually. But for me, MAC Paint Pot in Painterly is just a go-to. I always apply this to my lid all the way up to my brow and then set it with a cream colored eyeshadow. I've been doing this for a few years now and it's really made a difference in my eyeshadow application. Again, is that something that you need to start off with straight away? No, but if you don't want to use a sheer eyeshadow primer because you feel it doesn't do much in terms of blocking things out, then definitely try something like a paint pot. You can find it at more affordable stores, but I just prefer this over any of the other cream shadows in this kind of shade that I've tried. So that's why this is again a little bit more expensive. For shadow then, I definitely think that eyeshadow is something you could do last. I started off my journey because I just really liked the look of eyeshadow on myself, and that's why I started doing that. I just wanted to accentuate my eyes. So that's why I started there. But if you're a bit insecure of like doing really bold looks or anything like that, you may not want to go into it, or maybe if you don't have a ton of brushes yet or anything like that, just get yourself a Colourpop Supershock eyeshadow. This is the shade Ritz, and this is what's on my lids today. And what I like so much about this shade is that you can just like slap this on and you're good to go. It's like a beige champagne shade with silver sparkle. So it's a little bit more cool toned, which I really like my cool tones. You know that about me. I just really like this to throw it on. I apply these with my finger. It's that easy sometimes. You just kind of dab it on, apply a bit of mascara, and you're good to go. But that's if you're like truly like a little apprehensive or just want something super easy, something super everyday, then something like that can work really well. But if you want to be a little bit more adventurous, trying things out, then I think that having a neutral eyeshadow palette can just work really well. And I think that if you go for something a little bit more curated, I would not buy yourself a 35 pan Morphe palette the first time round. I would not, because even though it gives you tons of options, it can also be a little bit overwhelming. So I would go for something a little more curated like this. These are the mini chocolate bars by iHeart Revolution. This is in the shade Rose Gold. And they also do one that's a little bit more nude. These are the rose tones. I decluttered 2 of them because I used to have all 4, but I only kept the ones that I would see myself using when I was traveling. This is a really nice mustard shade, some shimmers, and you get all of the mattes and shimmers that you could possibly need in these. One that is a little bit more neutral with a pop of color. This has all the chocolate browns, and then this really nice teal shade here, and this is the chalk mint. So I do really like those, and I would recommend looking into those because those are affordable, easy to use. They have a good mirror too. Really, really nice palettes. Where I started off, and that's why I wanted to throw it in here, is Sleek. Sleek Au Naturel palette. This was my go-to palette before any of the Naked palettes were around, actually. That's how long I've had this. I just keep this around for nostalgia reasons, but they still sell this as far as I know. And if you're really into neutrals and you want like a palette that can do brows and liner and everything you need in one go, I think some of these shades, if you're with a very light hand, you might even be able to contour with them. This is a really, really nice palette. So if you're looking for something a little bit sleek, easy to use, that is a good all-rounder, then those are nice. Another affordable neutral palette that I would recommend is the Be Beautiful eyeshadow palette by Essence. I believe they still do this. This retails for just $6.99 and you get 9 eyeshadows. Some of them are a bit more warm toned, some of them are a bit more neutral. This gives you everything you need in a neutral palette, and it's super affordable, and the quality of this is really, really great. But I think that if there's one area where I would recommend you to splurge a little bit, if you have the budget, if you're willing, is to get yourself a more expensive eyeshadow palette. Because I do feel that when you spend a little bit more on eyeshadow, that does show. It does make for easier to use eyeshadows. It makes for better blending. It makes for just better looks overall, I feel. And the reason why I'm recommending neutral stuff is because I feel that that's a very safe way to start. So again, if you're a true beginner, then this is where you would, where I would recommend you would start. You can always add a little bit of color by adding an eyeliner, like a color, like pencil liner would be nice. You don't have to go too crazy if you don't want to. The Tarte Tartelette in Bloom is, I think, one of the most foolproof, beginner-friendly eyeshadow palettes that I've ever seen on the market. So that's why I would recommend this. If you want to splurge, if you want to shell out the money, this is not super expensive, like Naked palette expensive, because those are like 55 euros, $55, around that range. This has all the neutrals that you could need. It's got cool tones, it's got neutrals, and it's got some warmer tones, so it can easily take you from day to night, from the office to school, all that sort of stuff. And you get 3 quads that you can, of course, just use that quad, or you can bounce around, of course. You get some dark shades to smoke things out. I feel that this is a very nice all-rounder neutral palette and really cool for beginners because it's so foolproof. You get everything you need, just sticking to those quads and you're good to go. But now, of course, we need to finish off the eyes, and you will see there are no eyeliner recommendations in here because I'm not an eyeliner kind of girl. I hardly ever use eyeliner. Sometimes a bit of pencil liner to tight line if I'm using, especially when I'm using colorful eyeshadows, I like to do that to give my eyes a little bit more definition. But usually I just use whatever is the darkest shade in the palette, and that's what I use for eyeliner because I don't really do liquid liner or gel liner or any other liner, really, because I don't think it suits me very well. So my next step would be mascara. And I have a couple here. For mascara, you don't even, like, I don't even buy high-end mascara, ever. Like, I used to at the start of my makeup journey because I thought it would be better, but no. Like L'Oreal and Maybelline and Catrice, that's where it's at for me. So I have my favorite from each brand. The Maybelline one, I'm not sure if you can still get this. This is the Falsies Flared mascara, and this is being phased out as far as I know, and I'm very sad because this was my favorite Maybelline mascara. Aww. However, I found the worthy replacement in the L'Oreal Paradise Ecstatic, it's called over here, the Lash Paradise, I believe it's called in the US. It's exactly the same mascara, it's just called something differently in different territories. So depending on where you live, you will be able to find this regardless. This is a really nice volumizing mascara and one of my go-tos. I think I have 3 of these in my backup stash. And to top things off, I really like the Catrice Glam and Dull mascara in the waterproof version. For me, it's really important that the mascara doesn't transfer. So that's why I like to go in with this waterproof mascara to kind of brush things through so it's not too clumpy, but also to add another layer that prevents my mascara from smudging. This is only 4 euros. To finish off a makeup look, you may want to use setting spray. Again, setting spray is something I didn't use for a very long time, but I now quite enjoy it. I am really liking the I Heart Revolution Fixing Spray in the green tea scent at the moment. This is nearly gone. You get quite a lot of product. It's 100 mils, and this is like 8 euros or something, and I think this will be quite widely available. If you can get your hand on Catrice, however, then look into the Prime and Fine Multi-Talent Fixing Spray because this is really nice too. This is as good as the Urban Decay All-Nighter Setting Spray in my opinion. So drugstore dupe for that. Really lovely, lovely spray. If you're going with a more neutral lip, and especially if you're sticking to something as quick and easy as this Supershock eyeshadow by Colourpop, I would definitely look into going for like a brighter lipstick. So this is one of my favorite, like, if I want to wear something a little bit more out there, but I don't want it to be too out there, then I do like to wear something like this. So a very basic eye and then something brighter on the lip. I think it's easier to apply lipstick than to do a really good sculpted eye. It's just the way it is. So if you're new, I would say don't invest in a ton of eyeshadow, no matter what you see people do on YouTube, but start with the basics and just make sure you have a nice base, do a basic eye, and add a punchy lip. And I think punchy lips is something that the drugstore does very well. There are two brands that kill it for me when it comes to drugstore lipsticks: Catrice and Maybelline. So again, Catrice may be a bit harder to find if it's not available in your territory, which is why I also put something else in here. But Catrice has the what's it called again? The Ultimate Matte line. And this is in the shade Rouge La La. Yeah, and this is like a really nice, punchy, classic red. It's a matte formula. It's what I prefer. I prefer a lipstick that I don't have to touch up throughout the day. And this is a really nice one, and it retails for €4. If that is very hard to get a hold of, then definitely look into Maybelline. They also have a matte lipstick range. My favorite Maybelline lipstick that I own is Mesmerizing Magenta. I love wearing this in the summertime, or in the wintertime, I should say, because it is that bright. It's actually quite similar to what I'm wearing today. But it's a very nice magenta shade, and it's just a very nice bright to wear. My current favorite nude is by Catrice, so I'm just throwing it in here again. This is the Power Plumping Gel Lipstick in the shade Speak Up. And this is a very creamy texture. This feels like a lip balm, so it's super comfy. So if you're getting started, then a formula like this might be really nice. You may not want that very drying matte lip. So something like this might be really nice. It doesn't stay put a long time, but because it's a nude, it works really well. And drugstore nudes, I find personally very difficult. But this is one of my favorites, and I've been wearing it non-stop, so I had to throw it in here. So that would be my recommendations if you're starting out with makeup and you need some tips on what to buy, what to look into when you're building up your very first makeup starter kit. I hope there were some useful features in here. I tried to give other recommendations as well if it's a product that I know I like but I currently don't have, or, you know, because different people have different needs. And I just think it's really important to just look for what you need rather than just going with whatever beauty YouTuber is recommending to you. So I also wanted to give you options, you could say. So I really hoped you liked this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did. And subscribe to my channel. Everyday May is nearly over, but we're going to go back to the regular schedule of new videos on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday very, very soon. So lots of content is coming your way very, very shortly. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!